What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 31 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Malakai Makaisson Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, a bunch of battles throughout the episode culminating in a glorious last stand for our summoned Grudge Settler army. And it's not like we were going to do anything else with it, and them providing us a show was just the ticket. And this time around, we're going to try to knock out the puppets of Misrule and probably the USEC if we can get to them, depending on how many turns bouncing around between these settlements take, and then we can start moving Malakai elsewhere. Though hopefully we can still get a nice battle out of the remnants of Village's faction. Now, that isn't the only thing that we've got to do, frankly. This entire area is still very much a problem, and since we confederated Karazakarak last time, we got a massive new war, or a massive new border with the Clan Moors with whom we are at war at as well. So all of this everywhere surrounded by enemies, and possibly Scarbrand sailing towards us as well. Well, it is Total War after all, and we're making it nice and total. Anyway, I got Thorgrim off the field just for this particular, well, 3 turns, was it? So that he can reset his skills, because the AI was absolutely horrific with his skills. We'll try to get his armies up and running shortly. I deleted a couple of the armies, or at least a decent amount of the units and a couple of the armies that we had via the Confederation. We're up to 19k per turn now, which ain't bad, but it's certainly nowhere where we're not near to where we should be. So we're still going to retrofit, combine, etc., these armies until we get them into a shape that we like, and so that they perform differently from the other armies elsewhere. Anyway, that's about it. Let's begin by doing Malakai. And I guess the Tech Thief. Tech Thief, go here. Steel Tech, Malakai. Ooh, actually, out of curiosity, if you siege this, are we willing to wait a turn? It says Valiant Defeat, eh? You know what? Wait here. If it says Valiant Defeat, these guys might be willing to fight in the field, and let's face it, it would be a much more interesting battle in the field, especially as it's a tier 5 settlement with lots of enemies, and it would guarantee us a cinematic, because the enemy wouldn't be all, or the cinematic wouldn't be all screwy. That said, we should apply some points to those units that we still have. Let's see, we get 15 armor, which isn't much, but Ulrika is missing said armor. We should probably get No Qualms Killer as well, though generally speaking she's using range attacks. Damn, she's got a lot of points. Yeah, kind of not enough points. We have 7 to spend. Her magics are not quite maxed out. You know what I probably should have done? If I had envisioned that she wouldn't have enough points to get everything she wants, I probably... Oh, insurance policy as well, so she could... Oh man, 7 points, eh? Yeah, what I should have done is gotten only 2 points in a few of the spells here, but what can you do? I guess melee attack is probably the way to go, which leaves us with 5 points. We'll get staying power as well, because physical resistance and more HP is very nice for a self-healing unit. All the quiver gives her more ammunition. I don't know whether she actually has run out of it, and also increases range attacks, which she does do most of the time, but we could also give her decent melee capabilities out of this should we desire to do so. The other option would be to put 2 points into either of the other spells. We could get the Withering upgraded, which would give us the ability to cast it. In an area. The Enfeebling Foe we don't care nearly as much about. It'll always be against a single unit, and frankly with Gotrek's presence we don't really care. Also, does she have a basic form of it anyway? I'm not sure that she does or she doesn't, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So, what do we do about this? We could also put 2 points into all the quiver. Oh, but that won't give us the armor-piercing missile damage plus 25%. Frankly, she probably still won't do a crazy amount of missile damage, so it probably isn't that worth our time. But I still feel like No Qualms Killer might be. I think, since this is the only caster we have, we may as well treat it as such. Let's max out the Withering, I guess, and ignore No Qualms Killer, all the quiver insurance policy, and accomplished cavalrywoman. And max out Mentor as well. Alden Stronghold. Oh, actually, speaking of engineers, like Alden here, who actually is basically maxed out. In fact, no, basically about it. There's nothing that we can spend points into. Okay, I guess you can have block army and wound. You'll never steal tech, but might as well get the points, and we'll get that last point in mentor. Speaking about the engineers, it looks like there was a unique engineer available to Thorgrim that I didn't remember myself. He was in Thorgrim's army. Tom Phillipson has this, Engineer's Cipher. Tom's schematics, although here it says Tom with a TH, and here it says Tom with a T without the TH, so I don't know what's up with that. Cooldown minus 30% for restock, free research rate, passive ability Black Powder Aplenty, and buffing him up personally, and the bound ability restock. But he would already have the ability to restock. Huh, not so sure about that. He does have Cinderblast Shell, unfortunately, rather than Ballistics Calibration, but, you know, one unit with Cinderblast Shell may not be the worst thing in the world, especially since he gets the Black Powder Aplenty to make him hit harder. Maybe the Grudge Raker is the way to go, though the range is so short, you basically get a couple shots off with it before the enemy's in melee, and the engineers don't want to be in melee. I might reset him, I might not, I'll think about it. We'll see how he performs. And he has Tinkerer as well, which buffs his damage up further. Certainly something to consider, but anyway, not super important right now. Let's hope that Malakai gets attacked on field. I'm willing to wait the extra turn. Stotchel, you, sir, are heading up to Glacier Encampment now that Valkia has been destroyed for good. Wait, March Stance? Oh, March Stance will send you further, so marching we shall go. Okri Iron Pick, I would like you to move out here and scout out the nearby territories. We would like to see where the Dark Elves are rebuilding their armies. How many territories do they have? They have 8. Okay, so we won't be able to spot where they're getting their armies up and running. Now, we probably should take Nagorond, although we probably won't be easily able to defend it. I guess we move down to Temple of Cain. Man, I really wanted Hag Grief. Once again, maybe we can trade these guys some other stuff for it. Let's take Nagorond for now. We'll move up elsewhere. At least this... Oh! Malkus right there. Yeah, but he's not going to attack us with that. At least I sincerely doubt it. And if he does, it won't work out so well. Maybe he'll attack Hag Grief instead. That would work out. How much do these guys want for it? Just out of curiosity, how much is it worth to them? 151. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Unless we fight with them. Probably not going to, but we'll see. I mean, they're giving us 3.2k in trade per turn, which is pretty darn respectable as tribute. Anyway, King Azrael. You, sir, are going to move down to the Ashridge Mountains, like so, to hit and kill Drajuath the Ashen next turn. I see these guys are still in a war with Clan Wars. They were clearly losing it badly since Drajuath was basically dead by the time we got to him. Ungrim, I guess you're going to attack the Fortress of Vorag and try not to lose too many troops as the rats are around, and they could hit you with an army right after. Ooh, that also reminds me, before I forget, since we've got Clan Wars nearby, there was somewhere... Damn me if I remember where. But there was an upgrade that gave us, here it is, ambush defense chance plus 20% for all armies, Valea's protection. Truly the wisdom of Valea will bless us, and this way hopefully some of the artillery-heavy armies won't get ripped apart by rat armies that ambush them. Anyway, you're gonna go to... whoa, what do we have here? Likelihood that these guys run pretty high, I'd wager. They probably won't fight, right? I mean, they've got too many clan rats and Skaven slaves in there. I assume that this means that there is actually Skaven force in Ruin's End, but let's try going after Ickbolt. Let's also level up just in case. I don't think it'll work, but, you know, let's not risk it. And it doesn't mean that next turn there won't be an attack and reprisal either, so, yeah. Anyway, you are just gonna have the Thunderers, Slayer Pirates, and Cannons, and Organ Guns, meaning only Grimnir's heirs are the thing that we're missing. We can get honored by Grimnir on you, and I guess Obstinacy is a decent pick. We have Rune of Wrath and Ruin maxed out, and while I would like Forge Fire and Slow the Winds, etc., etc., I really wish this wasn't Power Reserve -5 per turn, but like, Power Bank -20 in local region, because how many turns are you really going to spend in the same region as an enemy army and pay thousands of gold to have the army sitting there in that particular turn? This is why I think designing things around, for example, like, you know, there's some skills and some defeat traits that are like -6 control to enemy territory. Who cares? You're not going to sit there with a lord or an army for that many turns waiting for the control to buff up. It's a huge, huge waste of money. It's a waste of skills. It's a waste of defeat traits, etc. Poor design. Don't like it. And not that it's all that important, mind you. Anyway, what were we doing here before I got distracted? With the... Rune of Slowness would actually be decent on us. You know what, fine, let's go Rune of Slowness into Forge Fire and then start moving through Grimnir's Heirs. Especially considering this doesn't provide us missile resistance or anything like that, so it's not going to help these guys out crazy amount. Master Engineer. You will want to get Deadeye into Ballistics Calibration, that's all you got. And then we'll level up the other Master Engineers afterwards. You can get Deadeye and Ballistics Calibration. But funnily enough, with the relative lack... No, he should still probably get Sharpshooter. I was thinking maybe this would be one of the armies where Cinderblast Shells might be the way to go, since we don't have a lot of melee here, and we won't, especially after we delete those Iron Breakers. I'll make these guys a little bit tankier, and a little bit different, but I really don't like how tiny the range they have is, and the lack of ballistics calibration also does bother me, as it's a fairly significant increase in reload, and having 3 units that can cast it doesn't keep it up 100% of the time, but does keep it up for quite a while. I'm still go ballistics calibration for now. I'll think about resetting them later, or we might do another army where I do a few more Cinderblast Shell type units. I also don't like magic missiles in general, so... Anyway, zip up 42 pounders, requisition. Gonna go with triangulation first, but also flash bomb, because it's a solid ability. Alright, next up, our other master engineer, who has sapper nearly maxed out now, and who has ballistics calibration. Oh, we got this guy as he is. As in, we confederated him, because I wouldn't have put points into boost income, or ancestral grudge, or resolute on an engineer, as those are quite useless. Go for requisition, sir. And then lastly, the Thane, who is also not going to be in this army for too much longer, and what can be transferred elsewhere. Oh, and he has Keeper of the Gate. I can send him to... we could send him to Thorgrim, who will have hammers as well. There's certainly potential there. Anyway, Relentless, Dowie Authority. I'm still gonna go with Woundmaker. You're going to need to duel some enemies. Might as well get Resolute. Why not? Give you a little bit of a charge. Now, let's see if these guys run or fight. I'm gonna say they'll run, but that's okay. We have other places where we can fight. And it's not like we're suffering any attrition here, because this place is not yet Nurgly corrupted enough, though it might become so next turn. Nonetheless, stay here. We'll see how the enemy reacts. Ungrim, since they're not fighting, you're fighting.
Well, this may work.
Just make sure to keep an eye out on other rat armies. And it looks like the rats have got a decent amount of grudges racked up, and oh! They have Dreadquake Battery? Where's this from? Huh. Interesting. Oh wait, that's the Dreadquake Battery that is bound... Oh, damn. It's the army-bound ability, right? It's the one that you get from the... not the Conclave, but from the Jar Nagrun, the upgrade, not instead the Dreadquake Mega Mortar, which is what I was thinking of, that is bound to settlements. So I guess oh damn, this is gonna hurt the Slayers, and that's it, yeah. There's a lot of potential for hurt there, but what can you do? Can anybody here level up to some degree that would help us with it? Well, here's the thing, you can get Rune of Speed, and... yeah, Power Reserve Capacity -10, that's what I was talking about. Not the other thing. I mean, I guess we can still get some use out of Damping here, so we'll do that. Definitely Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and I guess Rune of Oath and Steel and Forge Fire. We don't really need the Rune of Slowness in the Slayer army. Now, let's face it. You have Damping, let's max out your Rune of Oath and Steel. And get your Mentor, and I guess we'll max out Rune of Negation as well. Not that it's gonna be used often, but, you know, a Slayer unit getting heavily damaged. Certainly potential there. And there we go. Gerim Deanson is maxed out. Dragon Slayer. What are you missing? Vanquish Chaos doesn't really help against the rats. Mentor can be for you, Scarred Veteran, Moonmaker. Now, wow, I didn't get Stubborn Defiance? Okay, that tells me that we got you from a Confederation as well, because I feel like I would have gotten Stubborn Defiance. Well, then again, I might have just ignored it for Deadly Blade for some crazy reason, like not paying attention. Speed, Relentless, Charge. I mean, 1 point in Resolute's gonna be worth more than the point in Devastating Charge. Let's do that. And I still think we should get Relentless, so let's get you Relentless as well. Alright, that looks good to me. This sounds like a fight as well. This should not be a walled settlement. Oh, is this going to be a minor settlement? Oh, the Dreadquake Barrage is going to be real nasty there. Well, what are you going to do? Go for it.
On my oath, they die.
Alrighty, here we go. Ungrim's army, probably one of the last fights in its current form, as our reinforcements and retrofits are complete and should be on the way. Now, this may not be the best setup for this particular battle, in the sense that, well, Ungrim's army, being formed of the basic forms of Slayers as it is not going to have an easy time really face-tanking anything, especially not things like Bull Centaurs or Infernal Guard, etc., etc. So, we are liable to take quite a bit of damage. We do have a little bit of artillery support, though. We're going to try to knock out the enemy Skullcracker here, and there's also a Hell Cannon out here, but fortunately it is unprotected, and thus a summoning of a set of Gyrocopters should hopefully be able to bring it down. Now, that said, we're going to have to hack our way through this blob of enemies, so that's what we'll do. Enemy's going to use its guns on us, whatever their version of the Zufbar 42 Pounders is, same exact sort of ability, and as that comes down, they actually really shouldn't have used that, because when I saw it come down, I was like, and cooldown must be up, and thus they will probably be dropping their Dreadquake Mortar Barrage, and that's exactly what they did, so... Otherwise, I would have been watching in the center, so we do manage to just sort of move out of the way, so that rather than being hit dead center, these cannons, or at least their crew, will not be and should be able to survive. Out here, though, the Slayers continue trying to hack their way through the Chaos Dwarfs there. It's primarily Chaos Dwarf Warriors, but we do have the other units, and I don't know where the Infernal Guard is, but we should be wary of them as well. That said, we only have the one armor-piercing unit on our side here, our single unit of Doom Seekers, so once they've taken sufficient damage and are forced to withdraw, it'll have to be the regular Slayers, and that do the rest of the work. So, best get those Doom Seekers and doing the damage. And see, they're down to about half HP already, so they only got a little bit more work left in them. Just got to keep them in the melee long enough to activate their spin to win, and before we send them on out of here. And they are continuing to try to make their way forward as well. I love watching those axes on their chains. A lovely animation. Though it does seem dangerous to everybody around. And there we go, finally we rack up enough to spin to win. That should be a decent bit of damage coming out of these guys. 127 kills and 15.5k damage so far. We've certainly made a breach in the enemy settlement, or at the very least moved a lot of enemies away. We are getting a little bit of support from our Goblin Hewers, which surprisingly we're able to get in range and just fire over this little side of the enemy settlement, which really works out. I wasn't expecting to get them to do really anything in this particular minor settlement battle, but here they are, providing decent support. 112 kills and 101 kills, so and they certainly did their work. Time for the units that we sent in to withdraw, so that's the 2 units of Grudge Settlers, Slayers, and the 1 unit of Doom Seekers that are going to have to back off. Obviously, the Grudge Settlers didn't do as much damage as the Doom Seekers, but that's hardly surprising. If I were to do that again, in this battle again, I wouldn't have done it quite the same way, in the sense that I should have set, or kept one of the Grudge Settler units back, maybe even both of the Grudge Settler units back, and sort of interspersed them among the troops of regular Slayers. That armor sundering would have made the regular Slayers much more effective, as they lack the armor piercing to fight regular Chaos Dwarfs easily. Their weapon strength is quite high at 72 rather. 49 base weapon and 23 armor piercing, still solid but less than half of the regular type of damage that they do, and considering how fragile they are, that does make sense. Anyway, continuing to get some support from those Goblin Cures whose textures are still very much broken. Once again, for those of you who have the DLC, are the textures really screwy on the Goblin Hewers for you guys, or is it just me? Because they're really, really screwy. They seem to borrow the textures from something around them constantly. But hey, screwy textures or not, they certainly do good axe work. Anyway, we're now trying to break through both of the enemy barricades. There are barricades on both sides, and our poor units of Slayers are still suffering hits from the various enemy range units supporting. But they won't be too much longer as the barricade goes down and we move on in. Though it looks like some enemy Infernal Guard have actually rallied, judging by the fact that these guys are damaged. And hopefully we'll be able to rip them apart with decent ease. And their own weapon strength, okay, if I can select the Infernal Guard here, weapon strength is 46, so considerably lower than the Slayers, but once again, it's the armor that will give us pause. Same thing out here, we are leading the way with Ungrim himself, trying to get towards the enemy lord, who's hanging around up there, and though at the same time, the units near him are getting pelted or fired upon by our cannons, hoping to stop those Goblin Archers or Hobgob Archers from damaging our poor Slayers too much. It would be nice to get some war drums in this army, I think, between the armor bonus of the Rune of Oath and Steel and the armor hardening of the Runesmiths. Could certainly make these Slayers a lot more tanky. We should also probably give Ungrim the that rune that provides missile resistance. I was originally thinking about giving it to the one of the ranged armies, but I would feel the Slayers probably would warrant it more, unarmored as they generally are. Anyway, continuing to make our way up the ramp quite effectively, I might add. Only a few enemy units remain against us, most of them trying to book it out of there, and the other set of Slayers is trying to make their way up this ramp as well. A Spirit Leech comes down on our Dragon Slayer, who together with Ungrim are going to move towards this Skullcracker. We're going to keep the rest of our units back, just so that the Skullcracker isn't able to rip apart a bunch of infantry, as Ungrim with his buffs especially should be able to bring it down pretty darn quick with 112 melee attack, magical melee attack, and 1.4k weapon strength. He hits pretty darn hard. And he's quite tanky as well. A couple more hits, and down goes the Skullcracker, and we can continue moving towards the enemy. Ooh, there we go, simultaneous axe swings from Ungrim and his Dragon Slayer, though it looks like they will get no more as the enemy army will shatter. And there we go, the Slayers do manage to take the settlement. We avoided a lot more damage by backing these guys off, especially considering that, for example, this unit took half of its HP, but only lost 2 units, so it'll recover to 96% or whatever that is. So that's great. Most of these guys aren't too badly beat up in terms of model losses. Well done, Ungrim. Alright, very nice. Not perhaps the sort of ideal settlement setup for this particular army, but it certainly worked out decently well. Our first units to charge forth did the most damage by the looks of it, 16k on the Doom Seekers and 11k on the Slayers with Grudge Settler Slayers, and of course they had to back off because they took way too much damage. Also, luckily the Dreadquake Mortar did hit our cannons, but we were able to react to it somewhat in time, and it only clipped them and took one of the cannons out, which certainly works for me. We're gonna occupy the place, and is this a Skaven Plague? I forget. It is not. It's a Nurglite Plague. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Skaven Plague terrifies me. Regular Plague or Nurglite Plague, not so bad. Not so bad at all. And I'm sure that Nurgle is very insulted by the concept, but well, that's what we're supposed to do. Anyway, Zamnal Rocky Breaker. You're kind of in an interesting position. I feel like, considering the fact that we don't really care about what happens to your army, someone's just a bunch of random garbage, well, not garbage, you know what I mean. Well, we should probably try to take the opportunity to either heavily damage, or possibly, if we're lucky, destroy Wurzag's army. Now, the terrain here is kind of iffy for a relatively artillery-heavy army, and the fact that he has 2 stacks and Zamnal doesn't really have anything, but we really need to sort of knock these guys down a little bit so that we only need 1 army here, because we need to destroy the rats or else they'll retake some stuff. And the only one who's allowed to retake the realms are the Dowie. Anyway, Zamnal, I guess we're going to give you Axe Lord to level you up a little bit. You probably use a point in Thunder as well, but I think Rally is probably the way to go for a single point. Oh, a moment. The other opportunity, we get physical resistance out of the Lords in the waiting, but it's probably not going to be as good as Axe Lord for the Warriors and the Longbeards, so that's what we're gonna do. Well, let's give this a shot, shall we? I mean, I guess we could build buildings and move stuff around before we fight. You know, let's move stuff around a little bit just to spread it out and then continue. Hey, you two, you're marching all the way to Brass Keep, and that still has not changed, so keep on marching. And then we can knock out both Dodan and Festus at the same time. Plus get these armies and doing their thing. Let's see what else we have here. Belagar. Belagar. What do we do with you? Do we react to Skarbrand and preemptively move to Sartosa? Or do we take it back if it gets destroyed? I mean, there's a decent likelihood that Skarbrand won't be able to land here immediately. If he moves even more forward towards it, we might still be able to get back to it in time. So maybe we move to Argalis and then see. So, to Argalis we shall go. I'm going to assume this is going to heavily damage the drum again. Yes, it will. You're starting to annoy me, drum. Which is unfortunate because you're so good in this army. Oh, man. But what can you do? What can you do? Argalis, we may or may not repair the... Well, no, not Verdanos. We'll deal with you later. Once the Bloody Hands are, if not dealt with, at least not in this particular area. Or if not, at least not in this particular area, as much as they currently are. Zamnal, looks like you're the last to move, or the last remaining, and thus, it's time for you to go sacrifice yourselves if needed, but dish out as much damage as possible. What do we got on Wurzag? Pyrrhic victory casualties high. It'll probably all depend nearly entirely on the terrain we get here. If the terrain favors us, we should be able to make our artillery count more than the fact that we have primarily tier 1 and 2 basic units here without buffs or veterancy by and large. If the enemy blobs up, we can certainly destroy them. If they don't, well, it'll be a problem. Let's give it a shot. Alrighty, looks like we did luck out with a pretty darn decent position terrain-wise. I was really banking on that terrain, as I was saying, because this is going to be dicey. The enemy army outclasses us in pretty much every capacity. They have better, higher-tier units. Their lord is twice the level of our lord, and that means more buffs for their army as well as the lord. And their numbers are significantly more than ours, nearly 2 stacks between the main stack and the Wa. They also have, I believe, all told 12 units of cavalry and cavalry-like things, like the pump wagons and the squig hoppers and whatnot. So lots of boar boys, boar boy chariots, etc., 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 that are gonna get real annoying. And once again, we really needed this terrain, which is pretty darn decent, I would say. We have this nice little cliffside, which will hopefully protect our grudge throwers here. The main cliffside will hold our cannons, flame and regular alike, as well as some quarrelers, and then the rest of our units are here. Now, we do need to be careful about this position. We've had time and time again situations where when we switch to grape shot, our own cannons have a tendency to hurt our own units, so we're going to make our way a little bit further down the hill, where hopefully our units won't be at as much in danger. Anyway, gonna get a few shots off on Wurzag here while he does the dance to try to avoid them. Unfortunately, he has 35 physical resistance, so the cannons won't be doing a crazy amount of damage to him, and by the looks of it, their accuracy does leave a little to be desired. Taking about 10% of his HP off. That's going to cost too much ammunition, but he's pretty much the only thing in range right now. If you're wondering why I wasn't firing on the Goblin Rock Lobbers, we started firing on the Goblin Rock Lobbers here, but Wurzag activated the Night Shroud and they became unspottable and stalking, meaning we can no longer fire upon them with artillery and we'll have to content ourselves with firing upon other things. The enemy being also more or less out of range of our artillery are sort of allowing their army to move together so that they will attack us at once. That's a lot of, once again, fast moving units in combination with a lot of infantry that we are very much in danger of them overrunning us. They also have, of course, Wurzag to spell support and that darn Rogue Idol, which is, I'm sure, going to take plenty of cannon shots. Anyway, speaking of cannon shots, we're going to try to work on the enemy cav as the primary target, mostly because if they get around our flanks and into our artillery line or our quarreler line, they will rip them apart and will lose the battle pretty much. So let's see how many of these boar boys we can gun down before they get into range. It looks like these guys are moving here. We have once again moved down the hill a little bit, hopefully between the quarrelers and the cannons and the iron drakes with flamethrowers or drake guns, we'll be able to burn down at least one or two of these units. Fire away, very literally, please. And burninate those enemies. There we go. Alright, looks like this boar boy unit is pretty much done, so at least there's one. More are coming, though. And there's another Savage Orc boar boy unit here, and what's the... how much does Wurzag give them? 25%, huh. I thought it should be more. Maybe he doesn't have the ability yet, or maybe the AI didn't give the... didn't give it the ability? I'm not sure. I swear I've seen it go up to 40%. Oh, maybe it's such a Savage Orcs rather than the Boar Boys, but I suppose it doesn't matter. What matters is trying to survive here. Now, we've summoned our unit of gyrocopters. They have destroyed the enemy artillery piece in the background. We couldn't see it, but we could always summon a unit over them and to spot them. That does mean we won't have the bombs to drop upon the enemy, however, which is certainly another dangerous thing. Enemies are, oh my lord, this is looking ugly. They're getting closer and closer. We are trying to hold the line here as well along this cliffside. Gonna get some boar chariots trying to charge on through, but it looks like they'll be stopped by the dwarf warriors. Grudge throwers and quarrelers are gonna have to work overtime as the enemy will blob up around our units, but will probably do so for a limited time. Now we have a pretty good firing angle. I wasn't expecting to use them like this, but this is a happy accident of the grudge throwers, who can sort of fire parallel to the enemy blobs here. It's another reason why we wanted to move down our melee troops, and are even going to send some quarrelers into the melee line. The artillery are much more important than the quarrelers here, as they are unbuffed and will take a long time to do any damage. Basic quarrelers aren't going to be all that strong, or at the very least won't do enough damage quickly enough for us, and are going to serve better as melee units, at least part-time. Anyway, here comes that rogue idol, down to about half HP, but is drawing very close to our battle lines. Our melee units are very much in trouble here. The first of the Longbeards is pretty much down to 30% of its HP and half of the HP on these quarrelers as well. That said, it is allowing our flame cannons and regular cannons alike to continue firing. Over on this side, the other unit of Longbeards is holding back snotling pump wagons with spiky rollers, boar boys, goblins, savage orcs, and soon another unit of orc boys as well. So they are absolutely instrumental to the defense there. Over on the left flank, orc boar chariots have managed to move around this blob of units, which once again, 2 dwarf warriors are holding off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units by themselves, though the elevation is helping. But these boar chariots will bloody well stop the quarrelers from firing. Looks like our longbeards are booking it on out of there, and the rogue idol is heading towards our lord, dropping down upon him and taking about 30% of his HP with a single attack. Xandel's going to have to back off out of there, and we're going to have to redirect more fire towards that darn rogue idol, lest it kill off our lord, who loses another 30% of his HP with a second attack. Iron Drakes have been retargeted towards the rogue idol. This was a mistake on my part, and I should have knocked it down with the cannons perhaps a little bit harder, rather than focusing so much on the boar boys, as it did cost us about 60% HP on our lord, which really shouldn't have. Fortunately, though, the rogue idol does manage to get ripped apart at last, though the battle is hardly over. We've switched one of our cannons to solely focus Wurzag down now. His spell support is starting to get a little bit annoying. Not a crazy amount of damage dealt thus far, but every time one of those vindictive glares works, it could knock out an artillery piece or a blob of infantry units. Balance of power is roughly even, maybe a tiny bit in our favor, but the battle can very much go either way. Some units of goblin archers, night goblin archers and goblin archers, have moved on in and are working on our grudge throwers, which have been doing a fantastic job firing parallel to the enemy blob of units over on this side, but we have no quarrelers to spare to work on these night gobos, as they're busy trying to fend off those darn cycle charging boar chariots. Same thing is happening on the right flank with a unit of spiky rollers annoying some units of quarrelers, and most of our quarrelers admittedly are not really able to do too much range damage and are relegated to a melee role. Fortunately, the cannons are still working, and this hill is really working out for us, as they can continue firing various, well, whether it be regular cannons or flame cannons. There we go. Gotta love watching those flame cannons work. This may not be a fire army, but we've certainly got fire to spare, though unfortunately it looks like the spiky rollers and something else has done sufficient damage to the Iron Drakes to force them to rout. The HP is certainly dropping on them, and the balance of power is still continuing to hover at about half. Unfortunately, we're also nearly out of ammunition on the flame cannons. Really could use a restock, but we have no engineer in this army and thus no access to it. We just gotta burninate as many of those darn orcs before they take this hill as we can. We may even have to force the artillery crew into melee combat as we run out of melee troops. Looks like the night goblins have cleared out one of the units of grudge throwers, and actually both of the units of grudge throwers. Unfortunately, one is routing and one is broken. This one, by the looks of it, will come back and still has 3 out of its 4 artillery pieces, and that damn orc boar chariot are really doing a number on us with the support of the range there, able to once again prevent those quarrelers from working and allow those night goblins to continue doing damage. They've switched fire to the cannons now, though fortunately the cannons, I believe, have finally brought Wurzag down. It wasn't very interesting watching him drop, so I didn't bother looking for the moment that he was dropped, but it was that one specific cannon piece that was focusing him. That said, even though Wurzag has dropped, his army is still very much going. 7 minutes straight battle, nearly. Very nice so far. Zamnel's still holding the line as well, and once again, I continue to regret sending him to distract that rogue idol. Losing that 60% HP, but hey, live and learn. Live and learn and keep on firing. I do believe the flame cannons have maybe one more volley left in them, but having killed nearly 400 troops have done fantastic. These dwarf warriors are also still managing to hold the line, and just barely. And we're switching to grape shot now and getting plenty more fire. Though boar boys are now starting to overrun our artillery positions as we've run out of units effectively on the right flank. Our iron drakes, though heavily damaged, have recovered, however, and are moving back in to burninate some more gobos and apparently a few of our own troops as well. But that's the danger you face when you use fire troops. Those darn Night Goblin archers still doing plenty of work, 7k damage on them, and they're doing a number on the cannons now, who like that unit of grudge throwers, or both of those units of grudge throwers. These guys have done great work to kill off. Our 2 units of quarters here are attempting to kill them, but as I said, they're killing them very slowly. Curse of the Bad Moon comes down upon our cannons up here while we continue trying to reposition and continue to fire. Several of the enemy units have shattered, but we can see a lot of them here are merely broken and not shattered and will return, and thus we still require the cannon fire to continue working on them as they run and as they return. Zamnil has moved to the what remains of the main line here as a desperate melee in between the enemy orcs and our Dwarf Warriors continues. Wurzag's Wa activates. Kind of interesting that the ability does persist, as in the enemy army still has the ability even after Wurzag has fallen. Yeah, not so great for us. Out here, these Dwarf Warriors have been absolute heroes, holding back the tide by themselves with basically no range support whatsoever for the entire battle. That said, it looks like Wurzag's main line has crumbled, though our main line, just look at those HP bars. Most of our army is pretty much destroyed, but so, to be fair, is most of the enemy army. Make sure that those units all shatter and don't come back like some of these guys are doing, while we reposition ourselves and try to work on these guys. The left flank will decide the battle. Our Iron Drakes may be heavily damaged with only 400 HP, but they rallied and thus should still be able to burninate a few jerks. There we go, get a nice volley right into the meat of that blob. And burn them all, get the revenge for all your fallen fellows, as, well, plenty of them and did fall here, if nothing else, if we do manage to pull this off, and it's looking more and more likely that we will. It's bound to be a Pyrrhic victory. That damn caster also needs to go down, so Zamnil has found him, and finally, with the enemy getting charged in the rear and burninated with those Iron Drakes, the enemy will shatter, and the battle, just barely, will be ours. Glorious, glorious defense of that hill, and what a close fight. Looks like, well, I mean, we're not going to be able to chase off too many of the enemy troops, so the enemy army won't be destroyed. Our cannons will do their best to damage a few more units and try to make sure that they're knocked out, but yeah, our grudge throwers are done and not able to help, and I think one of the cannons was destroyed as well, or at the very least so heavily damaged it had to flee the field, but these two can still do a little bit of damage. Well done, Zamnil. Very well done. Sorry about the rogue idol. My lord, that was a thing of beauty. That might have been one of my favorite battles, not in the campaign, but overall, in all the campaigns. One of my favorite battles. We came so damn close to being overrun. Both armies were down to the dregs. Both armies had units that were routing and rallying and attempting to break on through, and damn was it close. Right down to the end for both armies. Absolutely fantastic job to our Dwarf Warriors for managing to hold back that tide. I also readily admit that if we didn't have the terrain favor us as it did in this particular battle, without that lovely hill and the little cliffside that we were able to deploy on, I don't think we would have won. At the very least, without a lot of extra forethought and maybe some cheesy deployment deployment. But we got that hill, and the hill allowed us just barely to hold on. Damn, that was great. These are the kind of battles that you play for, really. The grudge throwers nearly got destroyed under fire from those gobos. Our quarrelers didn't do a crazy amount of damage, at least certainly not comparable to something like the grudge settler flame cannons, which were obviously the MVP, and followed by the cannons and the grudge settler iron drakes. Both all glorious. Everybody glorious. Zamnel, I think you've certainly earned your spot. I was gonna delete you. I was gonna delete your army, but after that I can't do it. We're going to retrofit you, and we're gonna give you something to really show off. Beautiful. And Zamnel Rockybreaker was the guy that auto-resolved that Skaven settlement by himself and killed like 1,800 Skaven by himself, so I guess he was always fated to be something of a legend. Very, very nice, sir. Damn, that was close. Alrighty, we get a little bit of replenishment. None of this guarantees that his army won't die next turn. I don't know how far he can move here, and there are still armies nearby. He could catch these guys, but if he does, both of these guys will attack him. And in that case, I fear that he won't survive. I think to play it safe, I mean, before before we started the battle, I said I didn't care about this army, but now I do. And to play it safe, I think we should probably back up. There's a few defenders at Verdanos. Wait, let me see here. What do we have in terms of availability? We have a grudge thrower, a longbeard, a slayer, not that much, and a couple of quarrelers as well. I don't really want another quarreler-centric army, as we've already got a couple on the way. I'm just wondering whether we should snap Snapper's neck here. And some decent units out of the picture if we do. I've got to think about this. Maybe it's worthwhile, but if it is, we have to destroy this army in the field rather than auto-resolve it, and since that would be a horrific waste of time, I'd probably do it between the episodes. I also, when I was fighting that battle, I was like, wow, this is really close. What I should have done is given Zamnel his, maybe a couple of items, though we still don't have a crazy amount, but certainly we could have given him a couple of runes and maybe a banner. No, to be fair, we don't have too many of those, but they certainly would have made the battle a little bit easier. That said, after the battle was over, I was like, wow, but man, am I glad I didn't give him a bunch of items, because it would have made the battle so much less fun. But yeah, basic units just managed to hold on. I guess and the use of that Axe Lord really paid off in that particular battle as well, prior to it, as we wouldn't have been able to hold without. Would you be able to hold against this? Oh. Even if we go after you, we probably wouldn't be able to make it back to Verdanos, would we? We'd also probably need to reset you, because you probably wouldn't be an Axe Lord forever. Oh, right, you have Ranger trained. I was going to keep you anyway, just not necessarily with this army, and you have Doctor retired. You got some good stuff. Good job, Zamnel. Great job. I'm over the moon. Anyway, let's see what we gotta do this turn. We got buildings to build, don't we? And buildings to build aplenty. Okay, 33k. Well, maybe not a plenty, but certainly a decent amount of cash to use. We got trade agreement available with Ropsman clan. No, and Scourge of Aquitaine, they're back. They're back and at it again, but fortunately, Grumbrindle is coming this way, so he should be able to knock them out before they annoy us greatly once more. And he's on the way to deal with these guys, so, why not? Anyway, I was going to take a look at diplomacy before... Hmong have 2 territories, that's fine. Welch is backing off. And it's probably their last army as well. Bloody Hands, funnily enough, we could peace out with them, but that's not going to happen. That was their main stack. Or one of their main stacks, then, at any rate. These guys would be able to reach us here, wouldn't they? I wish I could tell, but I can't. I'm 90% sure Shady would be able to reach the army. And these two together would give them like a stack and a half again, and these guys might be too damaged to hold, though if we give them some grudge settlers, maybe. Certainly tempted by it, but for now, For now. Oh, wait, do we have any regiments of renown available to us? We have 1 turn until the Ulthar's Raiders, Rangers, and we have the Ikran's Miners as well. I don't really care for that Ranger unit, and I was originally going to put it in Belagar's army, but frankly, the Rangers with Great Axes are kind of trash, mostly because their range is so short that, while yeah, certainly they can do some damage and get around an enemy, but you need a main line for them. They won't work as a main line like Belagar's, and the regular Rangers have the range, because they're Rangers, to actually make use of snipe and stalk, whereas the Rangers with the throwing axes don't have the range to make use of it, as in if they get close enough to attack the enemy, they're close enough to get seen, which means not as great. I might still put them in an army, just not that army. Anyway, we got a few buildings to build. Drinking Hall for 660, yeah, I think we can afford that one. Silver Pinnacle Cheap Engineers Guild, sure. Doesn't sound like a thing that would normally be cheap, but I'm happy it was. Drinking Hall, always drinking halls. I don't think I've ever built so many drinking halls in a dwarf campaign before, but it's working for me. Let's see. You can have the Tinker's Den, I guess, and then follow it up with another foundry. Once again, we're building foundries now at this point. Ooh, Carrick Doom. We do have constructors on the way to you, so I think we'll hold off on building this stuff. Building the foundries to increase the Lord Recruit rank. Kazid Irkulas. You are tier 5 now, yes? Yes. Meaning, foundry for you. Rather than the Rune Lord's Hall, but I guess we'll build the Rune Lord's Hall there anyway, so it's not going to make much of a difference. Tower of Crack, we are going to get the Architect over to your location, so we'll deal. And frankly, we can probably get rid of that reinforced gate now, can't we? Well, soon, at any rate. We've got to remember to do so. Although I'm not so sure that I will. We've got the new territories, but I think we're waiting for the Empower the Guilds to come up before we build anything there. And Dargoth is ready to go to the next level, so we'll upgrade you. I should have waited to upgrade the Frozen City rather than upgrading Nagrar, shouldn't I have? If we cancel this, would this put us up back to 4, or would it... actually I'm not sure. Not willing to risk it. Because the population surplus defer... Yeah, just not. Let's just not. Just upgrade Dargoth. We'll upgrade the Frozen City eventually. It's not like it's a big deal here anyway. Won't make much of a difference. Mountains of Morn, yes. East Hall... I mean, there's some stuff we could build here. Reasonably cheap. Let's go for the Drinking Hall. Not so much a Stonebeard Bakery because it's a little bit expensive. Gunsmith's Forge, I mean, yeah, fine, just build it. And just build it all. It's not like we're getting... recruiters, architects down here. Ooh, Crookback Mountain, you're expensive. Unempower the guilds. We can build the iron thing here, which reduces the recruitment for warriors, longbeard slayers, miners, etc. So I guess we could potentially keep the mustering hall here. Do we need the defenses at Mount Greyhag? Well, what we don't need here is this, unfortunately. The Arms Foundry, great, but we have marble here, so that would be a waste. Mount Greyhag. Keep the defenses here for now, I think, but we'll delete them shortly. And then, I guess same goes for this, Ranger Hall. It's not super needed here. And you know what, in fact, Mount Greyhag, I really doubt that anybody can reach you. I mean, in theory, Skaven can, but we've got armies on the way, so we should be able to outdo them in that regard. Let's get you a Drinking Hall. Back to the east. Ice Spewer. Oh, you just upgraded this just as the constructors passed you. Alright, it'll probably be ages before they get back here, so let's just upgrade you. More Oath Gold and more money, especially since we're almost at the point where we can just start spending Oath Gold on tons of items, and finally giving some items to a few of our heroes. Man. I feel like the reduction, I guess dwarfs get like a reduction to item drops, I take it, because we really didn't get a lot of item dropping, like barely any. Almost all the items we've gotten were from confederations, because the Oath Gold thing, but I guess dwarfs maybe disinclined to use items made by anybody else, so I guess that could explain it. Anyway, let's keep building Shardlands. Yeah, we could upgrade these, they're not crazy expensive right now. Fortress of the Damned, keep those defenses up and running because you're coastal and potentially in danger. I'm going to assume that you won't be, but who knows. Vanaheim Mountains, what do we have here? Another Oath Gold thing. Ooh. I mean, the architect is on the way here. Let's build up the engineer's workshop so that by the time the architect gets here, we can essentially upgrade all of this stuff. Alright, fine. It's a little bit expensive for those things, considering we don't really need them per se, but nonetheless. For Dwarslav, you've got units moving in, so you'll be fine. I guess we could upgrade it to tier 2. Yeah, go do that. Southern Sylvania. Eschen, too expensive on the drinking hall until we got the constructors down here. Okay, they're up there. Constructors down there. Grand Peak, you're ready for an upgrade. A great hold for 4.6k. We'll certainly take it. And we'll delete the Stonebeard Bakery as well. Wolflands. I guess we can delete the Dwarf Tinkerer's shop at the gates of Jar. We probably won't need the... Okay, let's build up the Empower the Guilds. We probably will not need the Thane building here, but for now, it's fine. And we'll build Barley Field. We will, I guess, upgrade the Trading Warehouse, and that's all the money we got. At least for now. We still had money that we needed to use. Alright, well, what can you do? Can't build a drinking hall here. And can't build it here. We do have public order in decent shape here. But nonetheless, I think the drinking hall is probably paramount. Oh. Although we are waiting to upgrade Hardened enough to tier 5, and we could speed this up a little bit, maybe knock a turn or two out by building the granaries. Fine. Build the granaries then. And that's all we got, at least for this turn. So, that means we have to come to the decision as to whether and what we do with you. Generally speaking, I think it's probably a better idea to play it safe. I mean, these guys still have Bellegarde to contend with. If Skarbrand doesn't land at Sartosis, Bellegarde's going this way.
The axe thirsts for war.
I think we're going to return Zamnil to Zerexil. What's the likelihood these guys could... Nah, there's no way. Even if this guy could try to attack us, I don't think so. You're going to return here. We're going to ignore Verdanos, let them sack it again, if they should desire to do so. And just in case... Wait, do we have anybody that's high level? Not really. I mean, we do have a bunch of Corlers in here. Temporarily, I'll probably want to get Stand Your Ground, and... Oh, well, some of the artillery pieces are at higher ranks, so let's get the Morgrams favored and into Stand Your Ground.
The axe thirsts for war.
Speed. I'm just wondering what thing we can put into this army. Speed and vigor loss reduction. Kind of doesn't tend to tell me that we want a range-focused army. I mean, some rangers... I mean, he is ranger-trained. Some rangers might work with some of this. I'll think about it. For now, unassigned skill points, hero not moved. I assume it's artillerist or monies, so we can ignore those. For now, Great Book of Grudges, we have a 1. What is the 1 indicating here? I assume it's the legendary lore that we can't do anything with. Oh wait, it was an 8. Why did I say 1? Oh, I saw the 1 on the tech, and then I promptly got extremely confused. Alrighty. I believe next turn, we should be able to get the ultimate, or not ultimate victory, but big victory. Long victory, big victory. I like big victory more. End turn. End turn. Once again, well earned. Scarby, are you going to Sartosa? Okay, he disappeared. Well, that's just great. Scarby. I love you, man, but show yourself. Alright, game, this is not the time to crash. I'm still riding the high from that battle. Let's, No. Wow, somebody taking a long time to move, and a faction we don't know. Okay, Ikit's gonna attack Tobaro, but we saw that coming. Is he gonna sack it, or is he gonna take it? He's gonna take it, which means Mikhail Leadstrong will be able to attack you. Too bad, so sad, Ikit. Do you want us to join war against the Blessed Dread? Blessed Dread are basically dead. Meaning, I mean, it's not a horrible amount of money. Do we want anything from Gelt? He's in a military alliance with us? I don't think so. Just give us your money, sure, why not? We'll join the war, not a big deal. Not like they're gonna do anything to us. They can't do anything to us, in fact. Alrighty, Frozen Landing, Caravan, lovely, settlement looted Tobaro, settlement lost Tobaro, and new regional power, Reichland, swell for Reichland. Oh, the fact that they got new regional power probably means that they took a territory, another territory, up in Bretonia, that was lost by Kuhan. And they're still very much at war with the Barrow Legion, but it looks like they're starting to beat them back. All of the fact that we've destroyed a lot of their enemies is probably working out decently well for them. Scarby has gone back down the coast, and we got that ambush defense chance. Alright. Belagar, you should be able to hit Myrmidons from here. And hit at you will. What do we have in terms of defenses here? Really not that much. Might not be worth fighting. And what is your... Ooh, 16. 16 turns on your steel tech, eh? You know what? Go up here and act as a scout instead. Rather than say, aha, and block this arm. Cannot be performed. Because you're level 8? Chance of getting wounded is only 1% on this army. It's not so bad. Block army. Specialist is maxed out. Give it another try, I guess. I mean, it's only 1% to get wounded. Watch him get wounded. No, just a failure, but that's fine, then we can deal with that. Belagar hit Myrmidons. So, let me guess, the war drum won't allow you to actually do this. Reasonably sure. Oh, no, it will. It will. Though, You may actually want to attack it. They are building the walls. There is another option/opportunity. We besiege it, which might force both of these armies to actually move to reinforce Belagar, or against Belagar, and fight us in the field, which actually would be pretty great. Unfortunately, not so great. I was thinking that the same thing would happen with Village's faction. Village is back, but he decided to be a coward and not attack us. Despite the fact that he has twice the amount of troops that we do, which is a shame, and I guess we'll have to go in with this army, despite the, buggy nature of the sieges. Also, Mikhail, you are in range of Ikit, so he's certainly bet here, but I bet he bet wrong. That's a lot of superpowered Longbeards, because he's a pseudo-legendary lord, and I just built a bunch of random artillery in this army as well. We don't have any engineers, and oh, I forgot. I was gonna build an engineer for this army and probably forgot. Oh, actually, no, I wasn't. I lied. I was going to build an engineer once we did this. What do we have, defenses? We have no defenses. Sorry, Draj, you don't get the chance to actually fight, because, frankly, this is pathetic. This is pathetic. Auto-resolve. And why did that one hammer unit get hurt? Because of the Rune of Battle? And Occupy, which gives us missile resistance, income... What? Income from province capital settlement buildings plus 10% faction-wide? Really? I mean, it's not a crazy amount, but if you farm this on like 10 lords, that would be that'd be quite a lot of money potential. I wish I had seen how much. If anybody saw in the video how much the money changed before we hit Draj there, I'd really like to know. But more importantly than that, long victory, long victory, for the love of, huh? Not long victory? What are we missing? Legion of Asgore are not destroyed. Yes, they are. Huh. I don't see any heroes belonging to them. The heck? Legion of Asgore? Wait. Chaos Dwarfs, are you still up? Let me just see. Yes, they are alive. Okay, looks like they have a little tiny army or possibly a single lord somewhere. Damn, I want to end this episode off with the long victory, but I guess no chance, no dice, etc. Whatever, and they'll probably get knocked out shortly either way, so it's not going to make too much of a difference either. Alright, so folks, with that, I'm going to call the episode here. Next time, we spread out a little bit with these armies into the territories of the Bloody Hands, probably leaving Belagar here at Myrmidons in the hope that they try to attack him with all of these armies. Or we could attack, I'll think about it. Because there's no guarantee that these guys will go for it. Can we reach them with you? We cannot. And we'll probably think about retrofitting Zamnel, but we should probably send him to do a little bit of fighting before we do. We could always get a temporary lord to lead some of the retrofitted units here. Oh, you're the one who got muddled minds on you. Village shouldn't even be able to see you, but okay. Whatever. And why would I don't even know. Why would he do that? The AI is really weird about that Tzeentchian spawn and the Muddle Minds thing that it does with the Village's faction, but it hardly matters. Anyway, more Dowie to come, so stay tuned. Hopefully more great battles as we head on in to the Badlands and to reclaim the realms from Clan Moors, including Caracate Peaks soon. Belagar, heavy breathing. Yada yada yada. All glory to the algorithm. Likes and comments below. And thanks for watching.